Hi, everybody. We're on week 2. Today, I was so excited. I got up. It was sunny. I thought this is going to be the perfect day to, go out there and work in my yard a little, but then it turned to rain. Then I thought, oh, well, at least my students are having a crummy day to do their papers, so I'm hoping this is helping you do your papers. I wanted to talk about week 2 because there is some confusion in the syllabus and also the module. So we're going to go by the syllabus, and I wanted to talk with you about that and what I'm going to expect of you. So on week 2, the question you have, your written paper, will be on answer one of the following questions. What type of social capital do you have? What additional social capital do you expect to gain in the future? And the second question, which will probably be the question of choice for most, is what is the best way to discipline a child? Through stigmatizing means or alternative ways? Do you believe when somebody is labeled a delinquent or bad in some way, they will always be that way? There's a thing called the labeling theory. And why or why not? And you can look up the labeling theory. You can Google it. You can Bing it. You can look up your scholarly papers on it. There's an awful lot of work that has been done on that. It says to do a case study on an infamous criminal or someone who was incarcerated. Determine if the criminal was labeled as a delinquent early in life. Explain whether or not you believe this label perpetuated this life of crime. And that's a really big question because what are we doing to reform? Because that's what the juvenile court is based on. It's reform. It's on working to, divert them out of crime into a happy life, into a good life, a productive life, one that they're out there, helping everyone. So I thought that might be one that most people would pick. And I thought, okay, I have some murder cases that I'm fond of. Well, they're fond of reading because they're just so bizarre. And this one here, Richard Speck. Now, some of you might have been in my class when I go over Richard Speck because he's a chameleon. Not a comedian, a chameleon. He changes to adjust to the lifestyle at that time. There is a movie out on him, and you could watch that. It's unbelievable, and it covers him growing up. I love the History Channel, as you can very well guess, and he's on there. And he murdered 8 nurses, but he started out a pretty strange little guy. Well, he wasn't little; he was a big guy. So you might want to look at that, and to this day, every time I look into him, I find something new, and I find something that's just bizarre. And he has an unbelievable growth, when he was growing up. Period. And then we have the famous Mendez brothers who murdered both their parents. How was their lifestyle different than everybody else? And it certainly was different because they were born into wealth. And should they be held responsible? There is so much on the Mendez brothers that you should have no trouble finding anything. And I wanted to put another one in there, Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay, when we talk about crazy, Jeffrey Dahmer's at the top of the list. Jeffrey Dahmer, who ate his people. He was into necrophilia and cannibalism. Another one, and I hate to say it, but the police could have probably stopped part of this because they went knocking on the door, and then, there was a person there, and he's probably one of the craziest people you'll ever see as a murderer. Evil. That you're looking at direct evil there. But how did evil start with him? Because he started up in a normal childhood. So it's interesting to look at his childhood. And maybe if you want to take 2 of them and say, okay, how did they progress? How did they get to where they are? And then, of course, we have the Parkland shooter. And that one there's a ton of evidence on right now. Well, I wouldn't say evidence because I'd say it's in the beginning stages. So I wouldn't go with evidence, but there's a ton of information. Whether it be fact or fiction at this point, there is still a ton of information. Those are just a few. I hope that you can go on the History Channel. There's some, great cases in there. I will try and put some of I'm going to write you a little letter this week to clarify this week's, what you need for weeks 2 writing. But there's some great sites you can go to. And I'm hoping that you find this a really interesting write this week. I'm looking forward to reading. And I want to go over a few more housekeeping rules because there's some confusion on that. On this week, your paper should be 4 to 6 pages. That does not include your cover sheet, does not include your abstract. I do not go crazy if you don't put an abstract in there. I don't require one. But you must have your sources cited on the bottom. And if you cite somebody in your paper, you must show the source it came from. But 4 pages means 4 pages. It doesn't mean 4 pages minus the bottom quarter. It means 4 pages, right to the bottom. And that's what I'm hoping that you will see. I also want you to make sure you use an APA format. If you don't know APA format, I'm going to also attach a video that shows how to find APA format in your school. We have it right through our library, and it will show you how to do APA format. If you have any questions, you know I'm always accessible. It's 413-883-3537. I think this week will be a very interesting paper to write. At least I'm hoping it is. Again, if you need me, feel free to contact me. Good luck to you all.